Viewer discretion is advised.
If you feeling like a pimp, niggas call pimp.
Awesome sauce! Are you ready to testify? This is Awesome Sauce Radio. I am your party host, Blind Animal Wonders, the comic pimp. And we have an amazing show for you tonight, very packed. Before we get started, I'd like to thank my sponsors. I'd like to thank 9/8 Wednesdays. If you want to get this week's comics and you guarantee 9/8, go to 9/8 Wednesdays and tell them Blind Animal sent you. I also want to thank Key Collector Comics. If you want to know all the information about comics, how to improve your speculation game, type in Blind Adam, all one word. And, you will get your 1, 2, 3 weeks of Key Collector on the house. Also, check out Rhode Island Comic Con, going to the Rhode Island Convention / Dunkin' Donuts Center on November 5th through the 7th, where the guest of honor is the greatest filmmaker of all time, Kevin P. Smith. I will be going there. If anyone wants to sponsor some of that trip, let me know. We'll talk. I have no special shout-outs or special announcements. So we have an amazing guest. Gun Honey #1 from Titan Comics came out today. You know him from his hard case crimes novels. Excuse me. Charles
Ardai. Charles Ardai. But it's a weird name, so no offense for anyone who doesn't know the name Ardai. It's not like Smith.
You see, my computer for the visually impaired pronounced it like 2 different ways.
It's a miracle it only chose 2 ways. Ardai is a weird Hungarian name, and I'm proud of it, but nobody can pronounce it.
Yeah, so it was like this Ardai.
Yeah.
Ardai. Like,
that's
so
not
it's like
bad.
having the computerized speak go for you. Trying to put, I was like, okay, I'll just butcher it.
Yeah, right. It's like Idina Menzel when John Travolta read her name and she became Adele Dazeem. I still don't know how he did that. You know?
So, can you explain to the audience what Gun Honey is?
Yeah, sure. So, Hard Case Crime is a line of books that celebrates the old-fashioned crime stories with, tough guys and beautiful femme fatale types. And we started a line of comics about 5 or 6 years ago. And I promised the folks at Titan Comics who did this line of comics with us, I promised that I would write one for the line, but I was so busy editing other people's comics. We did a comic called Peepland that was written by Krista Faust and Gary Phillips. We did one called Normandy Gold that was written by Megan Abbott and Allison Gale. And we did a whole bunch of these things, and they were really good. And then I just never got around to writing the script for my own. But I finally sat down and did it. It took me about 5 years. It's called Gun Honey. And it's the story of a woman named Joanna Tan who grew up in Singapore, but had to flee the country as a refugee when her whole family got murdered in a bombing. Her family was a family of criminals, so it's not entirely surprising that violence entered their lives. But anyway, she fled Singapore, moved to the U.S., and built a reputation for herself with a very unusual job. The job she does, she's a gun honey. She's somebody who will get you the weapon you need, whatever it is, when you need it, where you need it, no matter how difficult, no questions asked. So if you need a gun in a high security prison, if you need a taser in the Vatican, she'll find a way to get it in there. It's a little different from a thief character like Catwoman, but some of the same skills come into play. So she's very adept. Anyway, that's who she is. And in this first story, it's a 4-issue series. She's going to come up against some very surprising people. The U.S. government insists on her doing a job for them, something she has no interest in doing, but gets forced into. And it goes directions that even readers of Gun Honey issue 1 can't guess yet. And I won't spoil.
Yeah, please though, because it was the read of the week so far for me.
Oh, thanks. I really appreciate it. It's incredibly fun for me because I've been a comic reader and comic collector all my life. Not all my life. I think I started at age 7. My book was Flash. So I started with the issue where the original Barry, no, I shouldn't say the original Barry Allen Flash. The original was Jay Garrick. But for me, the original was Barry Allen. I started with the issue where Iris, his wife, gets murdered. And that
That's
was
a great issue.
that isn't it great? And that I was what, 7, 8, 9. I don't know how old I was, but I was a kid. And the idea that that could happen in a comic, that never happened on the Adam West Batman. They would get tied up and they were threatened, but that no
Well,
one
it
would
never
die.
happened on the Super Friends either. It was just
Right, never
Wonder and
exactly. You know,
Marvin
it's
would
like
get
Apache
captured and
Chiefs
they would
never
get
die.
rescued at the end.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. So I got excited and I started collecting. I still have all my old Barry Allen flashes, and you know, I did sort of dabbled here and there in other things, but then I never actually wrote a comic. I wrote 5 novels. I, you know, wrote for television for a show called Haven, which was a lot of fun. I never wrote a comic. So this is like coming home. I'm finally getting to write the thing that as a kid I would have loved to read. Although to be fair, Gun Honey is for mature audiences only. Too much sex and violence for a 7-year-old.
Yeah. Who's the artist on the book?
There's a guy named Anghor Kang who's based in Malaysia, and one of the reasons that I was excited to work with him is that the character is from that part of the world. You know, she grew up in Singapore, but her mom was from Malaysia, and I wanted to know that when we had flashback scenes, in every issue there are flashbacks, I wanted to know that it was being drawn right, you know, somebody from that part of the world who would draw it authentically. The other thing, though, is that Anghor Kang's art is absolutely amazing. It's stunning. He looks like a young Frazetta. So when you look at the examples of his work on his Instagram page, it's these muscular barbarians in fur loincloths and leather and with swords, and they're just gorgeous.
That's
and
awesome sauce.
You know, we of course don't have we don't have too many fur-wearing barbarians in this. But he does a mean trench coat, and his action scenes are beautiful. So I was just thrilled. As soon as I saw his work, I said, I've got to have this guy work on it. And he's just been a pleasure. You know, I write the craziest things in my script pages. I send them off to him, and the next day I get back a drawing, and it's everything I dreamed of. He's
You must be like a kid at Christmas when you start getting the pages back.
Isn't that great? And the other thing, when cover artists do it, that's the other thing. So Ang did a cover for every issue. But then we went to other artists as well, and this was my dream roster. You know, this was my chance.
Speaking of covers,
yeah. Okay,
there was a lot of variants to #1.
Yes, I think it's like
favorites?
a dozen. But that one's Bill Sienkiewicz, and he's doing what I like to think of as a kind of Banksy art. You know, you could imagine this painted on the wall of a you know, an alleyway somewhere in a tough city. That one's Robert McGinnis, who's the guy who painted the original movie posters for the James Bond movies back in the day with Sean Connery and Roger Moore.
That's amazing. How did you guys score Robert
McGinnis? Yeah, you know, so he, in addition to doing movie posters, he also did 1,000 book covers back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. And I got in touch with him when we started publishing traditional novels, not comic books, like novels that have all text in them and just one piece of art on cover. And I asked him if he would do covers for us. And at the time, he was probably in his late 80s. Now he's 95 years old and he's still painting. And this painting he did for us probably, I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago. So he was 93 when he did it. You can't look at that and tell me that's the work of a 93-year-old painter. It's just amazing that he's painting like this. That's Anghor Kang.
What was it like having a variant by the legendary Adam Yes?
Oh, well, so Adam is one of a half dozen artists in the world alive today, working today, who anytime you see what he paints, it doesn't, or illustrates, it doesn't matter whether you know the character or not. You want to buy that book. You know, I remember the work he did on Betty and Veronica. I wouldn't buy a Betty and Veronica comic otherwise, but I look at his art and I say, I want to own that. And so I said, I on top of everything else, Joanna is a very physically attractive character, and he specializes in physically attractive women of a certain pinup style. And so I went to him, not really hoping that he would, hoping, but not really expecting that he would say yes. And when I showed him what we were doing, he said, look, I'm really swamped. I'm really busy. I don't know that I can do this, but you know what? Okay. And I was so thrilled when he got on board. You know, it gives a kind of benediction to the whole project when artists like this that you've dreamed of working with your whole life say yes. And then there are up and coming artists like Kendrick Lim. I didn't know Kendrick Lim's work before until somebody introduced me to it. He's doing the A cover for issue 2. It's absolutely stunning. And on top of everything else, he lives in Singapore, which is where this, you know, some of the story takes place. So that's just,
it's amazing that you got people from Singapore.
Yep. And Malaysia
bringing that nice realistic, you know, feel to the book.
Yeah. And, you know, that one's by an Italian artist named Andrea Camerini. Also a terrific artist. He's the one who did all the interiors for Peepland, the story I told you about, which was written by Krista Faust
I'm now going to have to check Peatland out.
It's worth it. You know, that one's about 5 years old now, and you should still be able to find it, certainly online, and the graphic novel's available. And it's the story of a peep booth worker, a woman who works in a peep show booth in Times Square in the 70s or 80s, I think 80s.
All right, you just got me sold.
There you go. Okay. And a man runs into the peep show booth with a VHS tape and says, "I've got to hide this." And it turns out that it has evidence that that there's this horrible real estate developer whose son has been committing murders. And I won't tell you more, but it's good. It's a really good book.
Okay, I'm sold.
Okay, good. And so he did that. So that's the Virgin version of Bill Sinkovich's cover, and that's one that Bill did with a kind of pink and taupe background. I'm not even sure it is taupe. I don't actually know what color taupe is, but that's what I like to think taupe is. So I don't know. Cool. That's Adam Hughes, and Adam did. We talked about doing something inspired by Ursula Andress coming out of the sea in the very first James Bond movie, Dr. No. She comes out in this bikini. And Adam came back and said, "Well, I've got this perfect idea. There's this villain, this bad guy who tries to kill her with a spear gun, and she doesn't have any weapons on her. So all she can do is strangle him with her bikini top. That's all she's got available to her." And I said, "That's
awesome.
That's great. It's wonderful." Now, I did say to him, I don't know if Diamond, the distributor, will allow us to go out with this cover unless you put some more hair on her chest, right? Not hair on her chest like, drink a beer and it puts hair on your chest, but I was afraid that Diamond might say you have to cover her up more.
For the win.
Yeah, but they didn't. They didn't say that, and we didn't cover her anymore. Okay, there's the Virgin version of this one. You see a little bit more of the sea at the bottom because we didn't have to make room for the logo. I think of this as a kind of tribute to the covers you used to see, not just on old paperbacks, but magazines in the 70s and 80s. I'm old, and I grew up in the 70s as a kid, and you would go by the newsstand and there would be magazines like Playboy, which doesn't even exist anymore. I mean, everyone knows the name, but Playboy doesn't publish it. But this could have been the cover of an issue of Playboy magazine in 1985, and that's fun, I think
it could have been a cover to Playboy up to about 1990 size.
Yeah, well, you may be right. I'm trying to think what else was out there. Sports Illustrated was doing swimsuit issues. This could be a Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue.
Sports Illustrated. That was the only time of the year I was excited for Sports Illustrated. Was the
I admit I wasn't a sports kid myself. I was a comic book kid, a D&D kid, right? I was a science fiction.
One year they had Kathy Ireland on the cover of
Kathy
Sports
Ireland.
Illustrated. I was like, yeah, I'm interested in this.
So the next one, this one was a retail exclusive, and I can't tell you, unfortunately, which retailer, and I really should know, and I apologize for not. But there were 3 or 4 retailers that said, we'd love to do an exclusive. And I thought it was great. I was delighted. And I think this one is doing a separate exclusive cover for every one of the 4 issues. I think the artist is named Leslie Lee, and I apologize if I got the name wrong, but it's a beautiful piece of art. I don't know if it's a boy Leslie or a girl Leslie.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what the retailer was, and I'm drawing a blank, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Sorry about that. If anyone in the comments knows,
so
just put it in the comments.
Yeah, I'm not. I should have in preparation for this. I really should have looked up exactly who the retailers were. But the problem is, I've put the books in bags with cardboard backing, so I can't see the back unless I open it again. And so I have to peel it open, which I don't want to do. This one is Warren Lowe. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, but it's gorgeous. It's the rendering here. It's digital. It's this one's Ivan Tao, I believe. I hope I'm not getting the name wrong. I apologize to the artist.
So what were some of your favorite crime comics and crime movies growing up?
It's funny. In terms of crime comics, I guess you can't count something like Batman or even Flash, even though Flash is a forensic police detective in his spare time, right? But he never spends his time doing that. And Batman technically is a detective, but nobody really thinks of it that way. But if you look at a book like Ms. Tree, back in the 80s, there was this character, Ms. Tree.
That's a great book.
It was terrific. It was really hard-boiled crime fiction done on the comic book page in a way that it hadn't been done before. So that's some of the old stuff. The same author, Max Allan Collins, did a famous graphic novel called Road to Perdition, which also became a really strong movie with Jude Law, Paul Newman, Tom Hanks. And so Road to Perdition is great, both as a movie and as a comic book. And more recently, Ed Brubaker has done an amazing series of books with Sean Phillips. Criminal was the first. Yep. The most recent one is called Reckless. And basically, they're all great. He's just he's the writer equivalent of Adam Hughes, where no matter what the story is, Sometimes it's real world, sometimes it's supernatural. It doesn't matter. You know it's going to be well written. You know you're going to be drawn in. So I'll read anything that Ed Brubaker does. And I was incredibly flattered and incredibly grateful when he read Gun Honey and kindly said some nice things about it that we quote on the back cover. So there are others. There are other crime comics out there, but it's still not what I would call a thriving genre. It's not as big as, obviously, it's not as big as superheroes. It's not as big as zombies. It's not as big as, video game tie-ins.
1950s.
It probably is. It's bigger than Westerns.
I got hooked on crime comics for reprints of the old EC stuff.
Well, EC is great. Now, so EC is a little bit more like Tales from the Crypt. I mean, it is Tales from the Crypt, but their version of crime is juicier, bloodier, gorier, funnier, mordant and macabre. And it reminds me of the old Alfred Hitchcock Presents TV series. But yeah, EC is great. And I'd love to see something like that come back. Gun Honey is a little bit more real world in the same way that Jason Bourne or James Bond is real world. It's exaggerated, but it's not a spoof. It's not Austin Powers. But the EC comics they walk that fine line between genuinely scary and kind of silly, and it was fun. Do you remember there was a TV show called Amazing Stories, not the reboot. Amazing Stories, which everyone thought was going to be great because Steven Spielberg was involved, and then it was lousy. Most of the episodes were lousy. But there was one episode, I hope I'm not mixing it up, there was an episode called Hell to Pay, only to pay was spelled Toupee. It's like a hairpiece. And it was about a haunted, cursed, possessed men's wig. And I think Danny DeVito was the one stuck wearing the wig. And I remember that being perfect.
I'm going to have to Google this later.
Yeah, you totally have to. You have to check
this episode.
Hell to Pay, exactly. So that kind of EC style stuff has always appealed to me. We did a book, actually. Max Allan Collins, in addition to writing comics, writes a lot of traditional novels, too. He did one for us called Seduction of the Innocent, which was a tribute to EC Comics. And it was about a murder of an EC Comics artist or writer. I forget which one was the victim. I mean, it was all, the names were changed. But if you knew the period, you could tell who was supposed to be whom. You know what? No. It was the guy. You remember there was a guy named Frederick Wortham who was a psychiatrist.
Yep, the psychiatrist who started the whole thing.
And he said that comic books were ruining children and turning them into juvenile delinquents. And if I remember correctly, in this book, he's the one who gets murdered. And it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Yeah, so we publish a lot of books, and the whole point of our line is for it to be fun. Some of them get dark, some of them get serious, but the point is entertainment. This is sort of the popcorn of literature. We're not trying to change the world. We're not trying to make you think deep thoughts. Most of the time, we're trying to feed that little part of your brain that says,
let's just get the world and have some fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's like going to the movies. You could spend $10 on a movie ticket, or you can spend $10 buying a paperback book. Why don't you make the choice?
Unless you can't see the print.
Well, there's that. So you probably have to spend a little more for the audio book, although I'm not sure. Some of those downloads.
With Audible nowadays, Audible is the greatest thing ever made.
Yeah, Audible's terrific. Audible's done a lot of our books, including the ones I wrote. I wrote 2 books under the fake name Richard Alias, and Audible did audio editions of both of those. I'm pretty sure they've got most of our big name authors, people like Lawrence Block, Donald Westlake, Pete Hamill, those have all been turned into audio, not necessarily all by Audible. It's different audio publishers for each one. And then Stephen King's books, I think, are all available through Simon & Schuster Audio. So and Stephen King has been incredibly generous to us. He wrote 3 books for us. We didn't do the audio edition.
Well, how did that come about?
I was nervous that when we launched this line, this was 17 years ago, no one had ever heard of us. And I was nervous no one would pick up our books because our books are mostly by authors that no one living today remembers. When we started, we had a lot of reprints of old books from the 50s and nobody knew the authors' names. So I thought, what if we could get some really well-known current author, well-respected, well-loved, to say something nice about our line of books? And I approached Stephen King and I said, could you do us a favor and just say something? If you like what we're doing, if you like the books we're publishing, would you be kind enough to let people know that you like them? And just say something like, I don't know, these are good books, Stephen King. And then we can print that on the book and maybe people will pick them up, even if they don't know the author's name. And he thought about it for a few months. And then he came back and said, you know what? I don't want to write a blurb for you. I want to write a book for you. And that really put us on the map, and he had no reason to do that. It's not like he's my uncle. He's my cousin. It's not like I have photographs of him doing some unspeakable thing and I could blackmail him. It's nothing like that. He did this out of pure generosity, the goodness of his heart, and because he loves this kind of pulp fiction the same as we do. And he could have stopped at one, and then he wrote a second and a third. And I take my hat off to him. He's the most generous person on earth as far as I'm concerned, and I'm just
That's
profoundly
amazing.
grateful. Yeah, it's great.
How would you sell Gun Honey to someone who's on the fence about picking it up?
If you enjoyed the kind of movies that feature these characters, if you enjoyed either the male version of it, which is Jason Bourne and James Bond, international intrigue, twists, action, suspense, sex appeal, or the female version, which might be characters like the femme fatales played by Charlize Theron or Angelina Jolie in Salt. If that sort of thing appeals to you, you're not going to go wrong here. You've got a beautiful, strong, smart, independent, hyper competent female lead who comes up against some extremely dangerous people, both male and female, and tangles with them. And the question is she going to survive to have a second adventure? And I'll spoil this much. She'll survive to have a second adventure. That much I'll tell you. And in fact, I'm working on writing the second one as we speak. Not as we speak, literally. I'm not typing. But this morning I started writing the second Gun Honey adventure. It's going to be fun.
That's great. I know you got optioned for a television show. Any updates on that?
Yeah, so I worked for 6 years with a company called Pillar Segan in Hollywood to make a TV show called Haven, which was based on the first book Stephen King wrote for us. The book was called The Colorado Kid. The show was called Haven, and it ran for 6 years. It was a lot of fun to work on. It's not that well known because it ran on Sci-Fi. It wasn't, HBO, but it lasted for a long time, and I was very glad to do it. I went back to Pillar Segan with Gun Honey, and I showed it to them, and they said, it's funny that you bring us this book that has a heroine who comes from Singapore and Malaysia, because we have a partnership with a production company that's based in Singapore and Malaysia, New Vision, and we should show it to them. And they got very excited about it. And so it's a kind of three-way project between Min Lim and Chiren Chung based in Asia, and Lloyd Segan and Sean Pillar based in Hollywood, and me here in New York City. And we're working on it. I read a first draft of the pilot episode script, and it's really good. And they're working on a second draft now. They're talking about casting, and we'll see what happens. These things, far more projects get optioned than actually get made. And so I can't say with anything like certainty that this is going to go on the air, but wouldn't it be great if it did? That would be a lot of fun.
Amazing.
It would. And these are people that I know can get things on the air because they did. They got Haven on the air for 6 years. So I think there's a decent chance. And of course, the more popular the comic is, the easier it will be to convince someone to make it. And then, of course, I hope it airs not just in Asia, where it's most likely to get filmed, but in the US as well.
Okay, I came up with a cold casting for it in my head.
Okay, go for it.
I think some of the people in the chat may shoot me for this, but I was thinking of Olivia Munn.
Okay, I can see that.
I was also thinking good friend of mine. I haven't seen her much lately. Willa Holland.
Okay, now I don't know Willa Holland. What did Willa Holland do?
She was Thea Quinn in Arrow.
Okay, cool. You would think that, with Berlanti doing the Flash show, I would be all over Arrow, but somehow I never picked it up. And in fact, I think one of the women I worked with on Haven, one of the writer-producers on Haven, worked on Arrow and maybe on Flash as well, Gabrielle Stanton. I need to go to IMDb and make sure, because if I haven't watched her stuff, I should. She was a terrific writer on Haven.
Yeah.
I will check.
I have a television show addiction at times. I watch way too much stuff.
I always say I'm going to binge things, and then I don't. Like, I'm 2 seasons into The Wire, and then I stopped. And everyone tells me season 3 is amazing, but I just haven't gotten through it yet somehow. But I'm only 20 years behind. That's okay. I'll work my way through it.
You're looking like the guy who just started rewatching The Sopranos because he missed the last 2 seasons.
Yeah. It's funny when there's a reboot or something like that. I just heard that Babylon 5 is getting rebooted, and now I'm thinking. And that was a great show, and I remember it having some episodes that were absolutely shattering. I mean, these really powerful episodes. But the idea of going back and rewatching, how many seasons was it? 9 seasons, 11 seasons?
Something like that, maybe 10.
I can't do it. It's just too many episodes. I just can't. Life's too short.
I don't have the time.
But the reboot, I'll watch the reboot. When it comes on.
What advice would you give to someone just breaking into the industry or thinking about it?
It's a good question because, you know, I broke into it the hard way. It's not like I didn't have connections. I didn't have, any way in. When I started as a writer, I mean, obviously having the hard case crime line of books helped to sell the hard case crime line of comics. But when I started, there was nothing. So I think the best thing is just not letting anyone tell you it won't work. You know, when I started hard case crime, I had this idea. I love books that look like this. I love this kind of storytelling. And I went out to the world and I started showing it to publishers. And I said, would you help me? Would you do this with me? And they said no. And it took me, I came up with the idea for hard case crime in 2001. And we didn't publish our first books until 2004. So it took me 3 years to get from an idea to somebody saying yes. And along the way, I probably showed it to 20 or 30 different publishers. And they all said things like, oh, yeah, those covers are really attractive. You did a nice job. But we can't publish this. This isn't going to appeal to enough people. This is going to maybe interest 1,000, 2,000 people. We have to have projects that could sell 1 million copies. And so I would say thank you and close the door and try again. And then eventually I found a little publishing house called Dorchester Publishing that doesn't even exist anymore. Sadly, they went out of business about a decade ago. But while they were there, they had a line of paperback Westerns and paperback romance and paperback horror, but they didn't have crime. And I said, hey, how could you not have crime fiction? I'll bring you the books. I know crime stories. You know how to print and distribute books. Let's work together. And their first answer was, well, why do we need you? If we thought crime fiction was good, we'd just hire an editor of our own. And I said, well, I'll do it for free. You don't have to pay me anything. Like if the books sell, you'll pay me something, but you don't have to pay me anything up front. And they said, okay, sure, fine. Give it a try. And it took 3 years to get to someone saying that. And so somebody who's new breaking in, it's like, if you've got something you love and that other people are going to like, if you're confident of it, keep knocking on doors. I mean, that's it's a platitude. It's sort of obvious, but it's really easy to get discouraged. And the 10th time, 20th time you do it, it's hard. But you keep doing it because eventually somebody will say yes if you're just persistent enough. There was a book by Graham Greene, who was this great writer in the 40s, 50s. And one of his last books, there was this guy in jail talking about how his father was a salesman. And his father was selling something, I forget what it was, selling books, encyclopedias, brushes, whatever it was, door to door. He would knock on the door and he would say, would you buy a brush for $1? And 9 times out of 10, he would get the door slammed in his face. And the way he survived that was by thinking, look, 9 times out of 10, it'll be no. I'm going to treat that as every time a door is slammed in my face, I just made a dime. Because
that's awesome.
If I do it 10 times, I get $1, then every slam door is a dime. Just think about it that way. Makes the day a little easier to get through.
There was a technique in a psychology class I took in college where they want you to go to a park, talk to 50 girls, and get rejected by 49 of them.
That's an interesting technique.
So by the time that you hit that 50 and that one yes, that the whole sting of being rejected 49 times wouldn't hurt because you are finally happy that it took you, that you did the work to get the one yes.
So did you actually try that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. How did it feel?
It actually was fun.
Okay. It sounds like a fun project no matter what. I mean, the truth is I'm an introverted guy, like most people who become, geeky, nerdy people. I'm an introverted guy, but I actually like talking to strangers. And the idea of going out and talking to 50 strangers in the park in some strange way, I don't care whether they say yes or no to whatever it is I'm proposing. I think it would be fun just to do it, to just get a microphone, do the Billy Eichner thing and ask strange questions and see what people say. Have you ever tried anything like that?
I think no, but I just bought a Procam and I got myself a portable mic. I might do that.
You can try it.
In the near future.
I mean, if you do it at a convention, for instance, at least everyone's into the same stuff.
Yeah, I would like to do it somewhere like in the middle of Times Square and just come up with a random question of the day.
Yeah, I ran into Billy Eichner once in at just outside Bryant Park, which is 42nd between 6th and 5th. And I didn't know who this crazy guy was. I'd never seen his show before. And he was running around with a microphone shouting at people. And he cornered me. I don't even remember what question he asked. But literally years later, somebody said, I saw you on the Billy Eichner show. And I had to go and rent his thing or pay for his season to see myself on the show. But there I was. And he confused me. And I said something dumb. And that's it. So I'm part of his comedy forever now.
That's awesome. That's another thing I'm going to have to do.
That's my claim to fame. My 1 minute with Billy Eichner. Billy on the street. But yeah, I think you'd have fun with that. I mean, you strike me as the sort of person.
Something I have to have fun with because it would help. I feel it would help me. And this was the question about New York I was alluding to when we were
Oh,
Amazon. Stop.
Oh, yeah.
What
What was
advice
your
would you
question
give
about
to
New York?
someone wanting to move into New York City?
Oh, say that again. I'm sorry. I was talking at the same time. I
I'm
apologize.
sorry about that.
No, my fault.
What advice would you give to someone planning
Oh,
to move to New York City?
God. Well, like move 20 years before the pandemic. That would help, right? This isn't the time to come, but it's not too bad right now. It was ugly for a while when New York was the epicenter of the world's pandemic cases, which isn't the case anymore. But it's tough now. You walk down the street and a lot of storefronts are closed, and my favorite ramen joint is out of business, and it'll come back. It always does. Look, I grew up in New York in the 70s when it was practically bankrupt, and Times Square was not about Disney. I'll tell you that. And I still love it. I have fond memories of those days. Some of them were scary. I got mugged outside Port Authority. I have my scars to show. But even at its worst, New York is still a vibrant and beautiful place to be, and it's far from its worst right now. So I would just say, find some place where it's not too expensive to live, because otherwise you're not going to last. There are parts of the city that aren't quite as expensive. It's expensive everywhere, but you can live in Bushwick. You don't have to live in on Park Avenue, and
Cool.
give yourself enough of a nest egg that you can get by, even if you don't have the highest paying job. And then, just immerse yourself in the life, the cultural life of the city, where you can find people who are into whatever it is you're into. You can find, whether it's comics, go to all the comic stores. Like I've just been going around to all the remaining comic stores. I was at Midtown 2 days ago, shamelessly saying, "Hey, have you heard anything about Gun Honey?" I didn't say who I was. I didn't say, "Oh, I heard there's this great book called Gun Honey coming." I didn't do that, but I said, "Is it coming? Or can you tell me? Is it going to be here on Wednesday?" Yeah, they said it'll be here on Wednesday. I go ahead.
I just wanted to know, where can my audience find you online?
Oh, thanks for asking. There's the Hard Case Crime website is the easiest place. So just go to www.hardcasecrime.com. HARDCASE. It's there on the screen. Hardcasecrime.com. That's our website. You can see the cover of every one of our books. It's more than 100 books. Not all of our comics. We're working to get them all up, but all the traditional books are there. And you can also find us on Twitter at Hard Case Crime, and Instagram. I think it's Hard Case Crime with some underscores in it. But if you search for Hard Case Crime, you'll find it. And yeah, check us out. If you're into this kind of thing at all, if action, adventure, suspense, intrigue, menace, danger, and beautiful women, if all of that appeals to you at all, come check out Hard Case Crime. You won't be sorry. They're great reads, a lot of fun, and I'm very grateful to you for having me on.
Thank you for being a guest on the show. I will have you on again sometime in the future. You have
anytime. Just say the word. Thanks a lot.
Yep. Hey, Mr. Ardai. Hey, it's Lucas. We spoke earlier on Drunken Chat about
yes, I remember.
A week or two ago, and I just got done reading the review copy that I got. It was some good stuff.
Oh,
so
thanks.
Look, the way I'm looking at it is that beautiful interior art, by the way. So not only is the exterior good stuff, but the interior art is good as well. So it's getting into it. It's trying to slowly describe who she is and what she can do. So you're at the kind of at the capabilities type, right? Where she can jump out of airplanes, she can do this, she can do that, she can if you need your house broken into, hey, that's
right. She can pick any lock and get. No, you're right. You have one funny thing. So if I had this to do over again, I love issue 1, but issue 2 is better. And if I had to do it over again, I might have started with issue 2, because issue 1 is kind of it's almost like a prequel. It kind of sets the stage, and then the story kicks into high gear in issue 2. So that doesn't mean don't buy issue 1. I'm very grateful.
No. Issue 1 is still going to be the one that you're going to want.
Well, for collectors, yeah.
I mean, you're the only gripe that I still have about Gun Honey is that it has a crap load of covers. But hey, I understand you got to make the money. You got to pay them to turn on the printer somehow, right?
I totally agree with you. I've never seen a book with 12 covers. On the other hand, I go in and I see what Dynamite's doing, like Barbarella or whatever it is, and it seems to be the popular thing to do now. I thought we were only going to have 4. And then Adam Hughes said yes. And how do you say no to that? So that was 5. And then Kate Max, who's this model, she's like in the top 0.5% on OnlyFans. She's a big fan of Hard Case Crime, and she was excited about posing for photos. And I said, okay, let's do some photo covers. So now
speaking of Masters of Covers, hey, well, speaking of Masters of Covers, in the background as well, we've got Mr.
Let's bring up the next
Tony
show in.
Fleecs.
Tony Fleecs.
Hey, gang.
Man.
What's up, Tony?
Hey, Charles, I like your books.
Thank you. I'm so grateful. It's great to be on the show with you.
Yeah.
What would be awesome if you guys could, team up on
Charles, if you want to stick around, you're welcome to.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'll hang out. I just won't talk because I don't want to monopolize the show, but I'd love to hang out.
Once we get into the other comics, we're definitely going to be talking about your book again. So if you want to stick around, definitely we can stick around. Yeah.
Listen, if we do Gun Honey 2, let's do something. Why not?
All right, I'm here for you.
Cool.
I think we've done 12 covers for sure.
Okay. You guys didn't.
For Stray Dogs, right?
Others with all the story variants and second and third prints.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been crazy.
Look, here's my idea. Freaking you have, old girl, doing her thing for Hard Case Crime, and then she has a special little dog. She's a special little dog.
She's got a cat.
I feel like I've just walked right into the writer's room. We're just gonna start pitching stuff around. And yes, and each other. Let's go.
Oh, there's always stray cats. You could always have a stray cat, running around. That would be
suggested.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if people will love that idea as much as dogs, because
I'm more of a dog person myself, so that's why we stuck with dogs. And I feel like cats wouldn't care as much if you killed their owners.
Yeah, man. But Tony Fleecs, welcome to Adam's show, man. I'm sorry to take over, Adam. It's just that you've got two of my most favorite people on the show right now, other than Trish. Trish, we had a Trish on a couple weeks ago. She's an awesome person as well.
I was trying to coordinate to have you guys back on together again, but the dates just didn't jive this time around, unfortunately.
Well, today's a good date anyway because it's Time Shopper Day, so we're here.
Yeah. So what is Time Shopper?
So Time Shopper is a graphic novel that we made. I made with basically the whole team from Stray Dogs, except instead of Trish, my friend Christian Misi was the artist on it. And it's a short graphic novel about a guy that travels in time. He's supposed to fix history's greatest disasters. Like he's supposed to warn the Titanic about the iceberg and warn JFK, kill baby Hitler. And instead, he gets back in time, and instead of doing these things he's supposed to do, he just gets distracted immediately by how cheap everything is, and he just goes shopping instead, which is what I would do. I think I always think about, like, if I had a time machine, I wouldn't do anything great. I would just buy Fantastic Four #1 and Action Comics #1 and stuff.
So every comic book collector's wet dream, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It's a real wish fulfillment comic.
Now, how?
I go back on the time machine and watch 20 copies of Action Comics 1 and put them in in a spot where I know in about 20 years to go back and get them.
Exactly. Hide them in a cave. Did you say, how have you not heard about this?
Yeah. So, May 18th, 2021 looks like that's when it came out or something like that. Let's see.
Nope, it did not come out then. That's when it was supposed to come out. So originally we were going to publish with a small press publisher, and COVID happened around the same time as they were having some problems on their end as well. We solicited the stores, to comic shops, and it obviously was up on Amazon. But we ended up canceling the book, and they gave us our rights back, and we just put it on Kickstarter. So if you go to Kickstarter right now and look up Time Shopper, or if you go to timeshoppercomic.com, there it is. We just launched today. And we're almost at our goal. And so we're putting it out ourselves. It's a big European format hardcover. The artwork is beautiful. The colors by Brad Simpson, who did, like I said, Stray Dogs, are amazing. And I'm psyched for people to get to see them on this big, 9x12 paper. I'm just excited about it.
Oh, well, you know what we got to do is we got to get you on Drunken Chat this weekend.
I'm at a show this weekend. I might be drunk and chatting without you guys.
Well, so here's what we do, man. It'll be like early in the morning on a freaking Saturday. Like I'm talking about 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, and everybody. Well, I'm drunk. Some of the guys are high, and of course the audience, they're drunk, they're drinking their stuff, and that's the best time to pitch them a book because they don't have that normal thing, that normal stuff that says, "Hey, don't spend that money on that, pay the bills." No, they'll be up there
At
listening
that
to you
time, when
pitch your book.
they have like 3 shots of peanut butter whiskey in them,
Yeah.
it's like, let's buy 2 copies of this hardcover and Kickstarter, and then when the bill
Yeah, you
comes
got to
in,
get
you
at
hit
least
the
two
bot.
copies for sure. You can't just
Yeah.
get one.
Well,
Charles, are you going to be there? What are you drinking on?
You mean on the show? I was drinking like water. That was it. I was at my in-laws' house in DC, so all I could find was like raspberry flavored water. But I'm on Kickstarter. I'm going to back this thing right now.
Oh man, this is great. I should just do one by one swing by podcasts.
Yeah, exactly. You'll hit your mark.
Guy's not even drunk.
Not yet. I mean, it sounds like a great premise, and you do a better job than I do of boiling it down into a sentence that makes someone want to read it. The elevator pitch.
Yeah, that's it's because I had it it was supposed to come out in early 2020 early 2020, and so it's just been so long gestating, and when it didn't end up coming out through a publisher, we just had so long to sort of put together a Kickstarter and figure out the way to pitch it. Yeah, it's been with me.
It sounds great. It really does sound great.
It's a time travel thing, so even though it took a long time to come out, it's not like it doesn't have like Trump jokes or dated, it doesn't seem like it's from 2019.
Right. I was surprised. I showed my daughter, who's 10, Back to the Future, and I was wondering how dated Back to the Future would look now. Strangely, it works. It still works. It's just that both eras are in the past now.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Time travel is good for that.
You know what? Back to the Future is a movie that still holds up.
Yeah, it really does.
Well, of course, we just got hoverboards within the last couple of years, and then those sneakers that Martin McFly
that laced
had,
themselves, right?
Yeah, they came out with those maybe like a year or two ago or something like that.
There's like the legit ones that are super, super expensive, and then you can get the knockoffs that are just inordinately expensive.
Yeah, So yeah, I mean, and of course you could resell the real ones for a crazy amount of money right now. So they're definitely a freaking collectible, man. Yeah. So man, it just looks really great. So once we get off here, or maybe I'll do it on Friday or Saturday night, whenever we get to do the drinking. Man, so Time Shopper. So is this is one project. What's the other project we got coming out from Tony?
You mean Stray Dogs?
Right.
Any progress on Stray Dogs Dog Days?
Yeah, we're almost done with the first issue right now. It's 2 issues, but they're sort of like giant-sized issues. Think of like when we were growing up, annuals. That's sort of what they're meant to be. And I feel like I pitched them on here before, but they're like a collection of short stories, one about each of the dogs from the original Stray Dogs series. So same team as the original. So Trish has drawn everything, and I wrote everything, and Brad's color and stuff. And that's the first issue right there. So we're just sort of racing towards the deadline on these to draw them as fast and as well as we can.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
I also noticed that you have a new Marlowe cover coming out too, with a Black Cat.
Oh yeah, I did a couple the store variants. I had done this Miles Morales cover for Marvel in in a Pulp Fiction sort of style, like a throwback style, like you guys do,
just like us.
Like a Robert McGinnis style. Do you know Robert McGinnis?
Yeah. Bob McGinnis has done like 25 covers for us.
Do you know him? Like, do you call him? Like,
yeah. He lives in Connecticut. He's 95 now, so I haven't talked to him in a little while. But last time I talked, he sounded good.
Good.
Nice. That's nice.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So these obviously are cartoonier than the way Robert McGinnis draws, but the style is there in the intention. But yeah, so I had done a Miles Morales one that was a incentive variant, and it was very popular. And so this shop hired me to do a Black Cat cover to match to go with it, and they hired me to do a Venom one too. So These ones, the Miles one, you had to get like 25 copies of the Miles Morales
Yep,
annual.
that was a 1 in 25, which now goes to $125 plus.
These ones you can get for a little cheaper, but you just have to go to the retailer. I think they're like $25 or $30 or something. But yeah, you can get these, the Black Cat and the Venom cover. And I'm working on some more Marvel stuff right now at the same time as working on Stray Dog stuff.
That's
Freaking
awesome.
busy.
Yeah, man. I'm leaving for a convention at 6 a.m. in South Dakota.
Wow.
I have not packed yet, and I still have to finish some Stray Dog stuff. We're having
All
a
right,
busy
actually, this next convention question goes out to Tony and Charles. What's your convention schedule look like for the rest of the year?
Well, I'm not going to South Dakota, but I was just told that New York Comic Con's happening in person, which I didn't think was true, but apparently it is. And so
I heard that too. A bunch of people that I know are talking about going out there.
Yeah, we're doing a mystery panel, and I said, sure, I'll do it. You know, I'm vaccinated. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Right. Now, have you looked into the health pass? There's some type of health pass that they've set up in order for people to, log in and make sure that their vaccination stuff is verified and all that other stuff. So you might want to check that out.
I haven't checked into that. I mean, I've got the little cardboard thing they gave me at the Javits Center. The funny thing is, I was vaccinated at the Javits Center. Now I'll go back to the Javits Center for Comic Con.
Yeah, they should
I
know.
could have just stayed there. I could have just sat there in the chair and drank their free water and just waited for Comic Con.
Oh, Jesus. Man, this is getting out of hand. It's a shame that Tony, you're not going to Baltimore Con, are you, this year?
Trish is going to be at Baltimore.
Trish is right. Yeah, right. And I think she said she was going to bring the that one Baltimore Con exclusive, which is going to be awesome.
She's going to be bringing the one from our friends at Bird City Comics.
Yeah, it's like Goosebumps
cover.
Yeah, I'm doing South Dakota this weekend, and then I'm just doing California shows after that because I'm out here in California. So there's LA Comic Con is in December, and Bakersfield Comic Con in November. But I'm trying to do as little as possible just because I took on so much work, and Stray Dogs has turned into so much work for the end of the year. So
yeah,
trying to hunker down, but at the same time, like you want to go out and meet people that have read the book, and so that's what I'll be doing this weekend.
Yeah, man, you definitely, both of you guys have got some winners there. So the thing is, Stray Dogs. That was the book of 2020. That was one of the books of 2020. Gun Honey. That's going to be one of the books of 2021. So actually, 2021 following the 2022.
And Time Shopper is going to be one of the best books of 1953.
Thank you. Charles, do you know Lawrence Block?
Yes. I've known Lawrence Block for 30 years. He's one of my favorite writers.
Me too.
No, I mean, have you read his? So you know his stuff?
Yeah, I've read his hard case books too.
Okay.
What was the one about the lady that would have sex with people and then kill them?
That's called Getting Off.
Yeah, that one was great.
It's a serial killer, a female serial killer. She made a list of all men she ever slept with, and she's tracking them down one by one, sleeping with them one more time, and then killing them. Except in one case, she kills the guy first.
Yeah. I need to read this.
Yeah, it's called Blind Adam. You would dig it.
Yeah, Getting Off, and that it's in audiobook. You can get it. I think Recorded Books did the audio of that one. It's it's called Getting Off. The subtitle is A Novel of Sex and Violence. Getting Off, A Novel of Sex and Violence. And I remember somebody contacted us after that. Some reader said, I didn't expect there to be so much sex and violence in this book. And we said, well, what more can we do than put the phrase "a novel of sex and violence" right on the cover?
I mean, it's right out there. Yeah,
it's right out there. Yeah. The funny thing is that cover was painted by Greg Manchess, who's a wonderful painter, and he didn't have a pose of the two women for the cover. And so there were two models coming to New York from Germany, and we shot them. And one of them needed the butcher knife. And so the knife that she's hiding behind herself to cover her butt, that is my actual kitchen knife that I still use to chop tomatoes. So if you ever come to my apartment, you can see the knife from Getting Off. I have washed it.
There's all types of Freudian shit going on with everything you just said, man.
That's the best
every single word.
Yeah, everything. That's right. I shouldn't chop tomatoes. I should Think of something else.
The knife that she used to hide her butt. Okay.
The knife is
Okay.
used to hide her butt. Yeah,
You'll see it when you see the
Okay.
cover. You'll be like, "Oh, I see what he's saying."
yeah. It actually is completely innocent. It really
Yeah.
is. It's not the dirtiest thing we've ever published, but Lawrence Block is probably my favorite living crime writer, and the only thing.
Me too, Charles.
Yeah, this is incredible. So he's not writing anymore. This is the thing that's frustrating to me. He lives downtown. He's right here in New York. I saw him for lunch a couple of months ago. He's in great health, but he feels he's written enough. Now, to be fair, the man wrote more than 100 novels.
Yeah.
So no one
And
can
he put his name on.
Right. He put his name on half of them, and eventually he admitted the others. And but I would do anything for one more Lawrence Block book.
Did he finish the Scudder books?
He did, I think, 14 or 15 novels, and then he just recently published a novella called A Time to Scatter Stones. And that's not.
If I have that.
It came out as a standalone novella. You can get it from Subterranean Press, and I liked it quite a lot. It's not the end of the series. It's not like the character dies or something at the end.
Yeah.
So it's possible for him to come back, but right now Larry's not too optimistic that he's gonna. I mean, I think he's very optimistic about being retired.
Yeah, well, good for him. He likes running, right? Isn't that what he does?
He did race walking for a while. I think the years catch up with all of us, so I'm not sure how fast he's race walking, but he's walking, which is as much as I can say. I never ran a marathon. He used to run marathons.
Adam, do you like how we just pushed you out of the show completely, guys?
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is what we want, because I got stuff coming a lot later. So go ahead. Go ahead, guys. Go ahead.
This is everything I ever dreamt of when I dreamt of doing this podcast.
Look. At least you guys aren't like Adam's last guest.
Hang on.
What was the last guest like?
I apologize to the audience for last week. And in the continuity of Awesome Sauce Radio and Blind Adam the Comic Pimp, that M-effing episode never happened.
See, the problem is that Adam keeps chasing ass. Right.
Oh my goodness.
And he said he tries to get ass by saying, "Hey girl, I got this podcast. Want to get on?"
Hey, that's a secret. We never speak of that, Lucas.
And just because you got tits and ass doesn't mean you have any type of personality, and that was proven. Absolutely proven last week.
Well, somebody's looking up Awesome Sauce Radio right now.
What was her name? Amy Quinn or something like that, right? I think that's what her name was.
Blind Adam's putting the ass in podcast. There we go.
You go. We needed a pun on this show somewhere. To be fair, it's not easy doing interviews. If not everyone's cut out for it. Some people have a lot to say, but when the camera goes on, they just freeze. I have a lot of sympathy for people like that.
Yeah, that episode will be locked up in the vault permanently.
Disney.
Look, she's a porn star, right? So she should have plenty to say.
I mean,
she was a cam model.
What? Would they let you put that in the Disney vault? Like, what vault do you put that in when you retire a podcast like that? Do you have your own vault?
Yes.
Is it just a trash can on your desktop?
Yeah, pretty much. Or just let it die for the thing of time on YouTube and it just gets forgotten about.
So she's not even a porn star. She's just a cam girl. Oh, that's even worse, man.
And she came highly recommended from a friend of mine.
Ugh.
And she's like, hey, she's just starting to cross over to do films. Can you please, let her, give her some PR? Can you please bring her on the show? And it's a good friend of mine who's every time I've asked for favors, they always said yes. So I feel guilty about saying no, as I had no prior experience outside of a few messages on YouTube with her.
Yeah.
On Twitter as well.
Yeah, we'll listen and learn, man. We can.
Like I said,
there's nothing wrong with having a beautiful face, right? But you just gotta understand that she's a beautiful face.
I'm not gonna stand for this Amy Quinn talking outside of our mouth about this one. She looks like a lovely person. I'm gonna watch the interview.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
She Greg, if you have any models for your cosplay covers, I'm here to help in any way I can.
All right, thank you.
Now let's get back to Tony for a minute. Any upcoming My Little Pony stuff in the pipe?
That's where we're going from this. Is there any upcoming My Little Pony stuff? There is. I can't talk about it, but there's stuff that's coming up that I'm working on.
Awesome.
What an exciting answer.
Interesting. Some dark
Do you
stuff. That
think
means
that My Little Pony needs a little bit more love at this point?
I mean, My Little Pony is the #1 movie on Netflix today. I think we're doing okay. You know, like we're hanging in there.
Great. That means I'm going to be forced to watch that movie like 500 times this weekend.
Good. It's great. Charles, this for a little context. Besides making my own comics, I drew My Little Pony comics for about 10 years. So
that's cool.
We
have several My Little Pony fans in my extended family, including my daughter, and I don't look down my nose at anything like that. You know, it's extreme. The show was very well written. I don't the portions I saw were quite good.
Agree.
My 4-year-old niece, my niece is just still in love with My Little Pony, so it's like being watched at nauseum. But at least it's replaced Paw Patrol.
I think it's more watchable.
Much better than Paw Patrol. Yeah,
but it's not gonna misplace Paw Patrol. No, considering that Paw Patrol was only 7 years old, Paw Patrol has far exceeded My Little Pony already when it comes to revenue.
I know she's talking
about a little old-fashioned tune-off here. I want to look up some revenues myself.
Yeah, I mean,
Paw Patrol, is that Hasbro too? Is that Mattel?
I don't know if Paw Patrol is Mattel or whatever. Paw Patrol.
I think they're Nickelodeon, actually.
Yeah.
But who owns the actual toys? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Paramount, CBS, and everything. It's just that they haven't really found a way to, capitalize on it yet. But that's a question for 20, 30 years down the line when these kids actually grow up.
Yeah,
and they're going to be looking forward to
on this Paw Patrol.
The gritty reboot, the gritty live-action Paw Patrol reboot in 30 years.
So that that might be something that you want to figure out, Tony, because Paw Patrol has not had an official comic book yet.
That's true too. I'm doing okay on my own right now, but if I ever find myself having to go back to kids' comics, I would. I mean, I've got like a reputation with dogs now. I feel like I could just walk right in the door.
Yeah.
My presence would be a present.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about like you have to do like a whole year. Just give us a three shot, three series, one shot. Yeah, one shot, and you would be the first one, and then that'll be definitely the one that I would have to forget. Because I've already told everybody, hey, think about Paw Patrol. Think about Paw Patrol. It's a franchise. It's a huge franchise.
Patrol #1. Get it CGC'd. Looks like it's Canadian.
Huh.
Interesting.
All the best things are Canadian.
Yeah,
that's not true. But we shot Haven in Canada. Yeah, we couldn't afford to go to Maine, but Nova Scotia looks a lot like Maine, so we shot Haven in Canada.
Yep. What's the other Canadian little cartoon? Caillou?
Yeah.
Guys remember Caillou? That was a big thing. Man, yeah. There's a lot of opportunity.
Amazon stop.
Yeah, there's so many franchises out there that are like really good opportunities that there just isn't an actual comic book yet, and it took us forever to find that Sesame Street comic, right, Adam?
That it did.
Yeah, and there's no good. Yeah, but there's no good copies out there, and nobody's getting a CGC or anything like that. Man. Yeah. So it's tough. How about, gentlemen, you want to stand by while we go through the comics, right? Some of them involve some of the comics that you guys are involved.
One more question for Tony, real quick.
Go ahead.
Let's do that. Yeah.
Hey, excuse me, Tony. Is Finding Johnny Wad still in print?
Another just for Blind Adam comic book. I think you would enjoy. It is not. It hasn't been in print since like 2007 or 8. I think it was a very small print run. Very difficult. Probably the hardest to find comic in my
oeuvre.
Yeah, my oeuvre. How do you say it? You probably say it right.
Oeuvre.
Yeah, very difficult to find. It's an adaptation of the John Holmes, Johnny Wad movies, but done straight as like just a crime comic.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, well, it was pretty good. I made it as a young man, just full of ambition. I thought it was gonna pop off and be huge, and it was, did just fine. It was a small comic based on a porno movie that came out from a small publisher who was very nice, but they're not around anymore. So the book only exists in the copies that are out there. I don't expect it's on eBay or anything. It's just sort of who knows where.
Yeah, just I'm gonna have to try to talk to a buddy of mine who specializes in that stuff.
Porno comics?
Yeah.
That's a special deal, right?
He has a specialty. Well, there's other John Holmes comics, but this is the only one that I made. So yeah, it's not on eBay right now. Good luck.
You could make it a reward level for Time Shopper.
I only have one myself, I think, because we did 2 printings of it. And one of them I don't even have anymore. And then I just have, I think, the second printing. So yeah, it's very rare. Let's see if it's on mycomicshop.com.
All right. While you are looking that up, I'm going to start with the comics that are coming out this week. And which again, this is special information as far as, hey, what's starting to sell out at some of the local comic book shops and what is sold out totally on the back end of Diamond, Lunar, and the like. Number one, this is by no means in any type of rating system. The first one that I came across was Geiger number 6. I've been telling people, this has been sold out on the back end for the last 2 weeks. Geiger number 6, the second print. Once again, this is the story about the dude who lives in the apocalypse and everybody else has to stay on the ground, but for some reason he has been immunized against the radiation, and he's the only one that can actually go above ground without any type of suit. Now apparently in Geiger number 6 there was the introduction of a new character named Junkyard Joe, so that's why people are kind of after this book, especially the second print. Let's see. Now this one came out this week. Batman Reptilian number 4. For some reason, people, and I'm talking about customers, were after the cover B, the variant Coley Hammer cover, even though cover A actually had the photo of the new character, and that is that this was the first appearances of Crocs. That's Waylon Jones's offspring. We don't know whether it's son or daughter.
It's Killer
Yeah.
Croc's kid.
Yes, it's a weird thing. It turns out that he's not a dude; he's actually a girl. Weird. So he had a baby. This is the first appearance of him, and it's kind of crazy. Now there's also a 1 in 25 of that one, but nobody has been picking up on that one either. It's just weird because people are just going after that cover B, which is not that rare at all.
I just want a copy to read, because how does Killer Croc have kids?
Well, it's a girl, right? So he's a girl, and you got to remember that sometimes reptiles don't need a second thing to have babies. Sometimes I think it's called amniogenesis or something like that.
I think it's parthenogenesis, but
Yeah.
don't trust my scientific knowledge. But that's where if you take a frog egg and you prick it with a pin, it can turn into a frog.
Life finds a way.
Life finds a way.
Yeah. Let's see. Spawn number 322. This was a kind of a big freaking secret about what was going on. Really wasn't a new character in this, because the 2 new characters that were the main concentration were actually in 321. But we do get like a closer up face shot of both the lady that was kidnapped and her child. So this would be the first full appearance of Kyle Higgins and Melissa Higgins. Now, if you really think about what was actually going on, Kyle Higgins, the little baby, is actually the son of a vampire, which is kind of unseen for Spawn. And then there was a cover A. Both of these sold out, and there was actually a cover C out there as well that sold out. So last week I started reporting and telling everybody about the Infernal number 1s. That were going to be kind of mixed and matched, whatever. That's still happening. Now, you also got to be under consideration that a lot of this stuff was actually selling out. A lot of retailers were going back into the well, going back into the diamond system, and actually trying to order these. So you got to be aware of that if you don't see them this week.
Excuse me, Lucas, are they completely sold out at the distributor level at this point?
Yes, right.
Yeah.
they're completely sold out. I actually got in contact with my LCS. They are sold out. In fact, not only were they sold out, the ones that they got had several damages on there. So you got to consider that.
Yay!
The Now the big thing was there wasn't a big event. There's all no, I'm not going to say that. There's all types of crazy stuff that was happening in this particular event. It's definitely surrounded Mora Taggart, right, and definitely surrounding Destiny. So who and what and how their destinies are freaking intertwined. That's the big freaking story that was happening in there. So this one is definitely one to keep an eye on. Is it worth the 1-to-100 ratio? I don't know. I'll say they should just stuck with the 125 and the 150. But once again we'll see how they twist it around. But there's going to be once again there's probably going to be a lot because I think there was probably like a lot of incentives around for this one.
That's awesome. I have another question for both Tony and Charles.
Yes.
Any advice for battling writer's block?
My best advice is get a deadline. As soon as somebody tells me you've got to have this written because there's a deadline, you have to deliver it to the printer or we're going to have a blank piece of paper in the store. That galvanizes my writing skills enormously.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
I'm the same way with art and with writing. If I have some sort of pressure pushing me to finish it, I will get it done. If not, I will watch TV sometimes. I will take it easy. But yeah, if I've got an impending deadline, I'll stay up late and make sure everything gets finished on time.
Yep.
All right, deadline.
All right. So next up is, and this is the one that came out this week, Hard Case Crime Gun Honey #1, the one that everybody was after until they saw the other covers, the Cover F variant by Adam Hughes, right? Everybody was after this like a month and a half before this one even came out, before it was even on FOC. People were chasing me down, calling me about this. The only thing that screwed this up was the other retailer exclusives, right?
Yeah.
Now, don't get it twisted. This one still is sold out in the Diamond system, but as far as secondary sales, it's all jacked up, right? Because there's the retailer exclusive, which is the Virgin. Then there's a foil joint that comes out, and then even there's going to be a second and third print with the same cover on there, which was like a version metal. No, it's like a metal paint version on there. So that's the only thing that messes this up from being the hottest book this year, is the fact that there's too many covers on there.
That's really good feedback. Listen, I'll talk to the guys who do all the decisions for that stuff. They come to me, they run it by me, so I can't. The buck stops here. But they came to me and said, "Well, what if we do this cover? What if we do that cover?" And my rule of thumb was, I write the book. You're the experts at this, so I'll do whatever you think is right. And but I'll let them know that too many.
I know that one of those particular retailers is sold out of their exclusive at the moment too.
And that's fine, right? But if they're going to do all those types of covers, it should be like a second or a third print.
Got it.
And Tony, you could tell me, hey, Stray Dogs, they're doing fine with second and freaking third prints. The thing that's keeping this from being a $250 book, is the fact that there were so many covers right out the gate with it.
Got it.
Yeah,
well, I'll tell them that. I appreciate it.
It has to do with how the market is set up too. Like the way you sell a bunch of books in some cases is you get these retailer covers because then they have to order a chunk of them. Like, I don't know what it is with Titan, but with Image they got to order 500. With Marvel,
I think it's something like that. I think it's 500.
Yeah. So like you can't look away from those guaranteed sales as a publisher. You want everything to be as collectible as possible, but it's hard to look that gift horse in the mouth when it's sales that are guaranteed.
So I mean, but here's the deal: what's the rush, right? Because the people who bought those retailer exclusive covers, they're not getting it Wednesday. They weren't getting it yesterday.
Oh, they're not giving retailers they can have that cover, but it comes out 2 weeks later or a month later or something.
Yep.
Interesting.
That's an interesting idea.
comes out with just make it a second, you make it a second, or you make it a third print. And yes, you could absolutely look. I think it's Image actually. Excuse me.
Bless you.
That's actually having a 1/25 for second print, which is unheard of, but it's actually still working for them.
You know what
Imagine
book
a
it is?
second and third prints are like 1/25s, 1/50s.
Huh.
So it's still working for them. There's no if look as if a customer sees something and they like it, yeah, they're going to wait that 2 months. They're going to wait that week. They're going to wait that 2 weeks. So there's no rush. Let the actual retailers that are going to buy like 100 to 200 of these, let them eat first, and then go ahead and do the second, third prints. Because look, this was a hot book before the FOC. Even before the final order cut off, like a month before, this was a hot book. People were all over this book.
You're saying now that they get the foil one and the virgin cover, those ones are the hot ones, or none of them are.
Well, none of them are,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Yeah.
It's like collectibles.
Yeah, it's collectibles. Yeah, people bought them. They're sold out. But when it comes to like the secondary market, people are just ambivalent to it. It's like, okay, there's this one, because now you wonder, it's like, okay, they did this, they did the version, and then they did the foil.
What's next?
What's next?
Yeah. I get it.
Are you saying with the same image? Do you think that's the issue, or just that they did
The same image?
Covers the
Absolutely
same image?
Same image. Yep.
It's tough though too, because you get Adam Hughes like that. You want to use all the parts of the buffalo, you know.
True that.
Yeah. I mean, there's no shame to the game, and you just gotta use that power, strategically.
Yeah. Now you want to support the people who support you, and make sure that they feel good about it. That's important.
Yep. Let that first print hit the streets, then you can start talking about what's going on with the second and third print.
Charles, I'm glad it's your book that fucked up here and not mine.
Well,
savage like
as ways to fuck up go, this isn't the worst way. I'm very grateful that so many
people.
I
mean, Charles, you're still going to make that money.
Yeah.
You're still going to make that money.
Titan's going to make a lot of it, and whatever's left, I split with the artist. So it's not like I'm going to ring the cash register all the way to the bank. But I will say this, as a writer, not as a collector, and I'm a collector too, so I totally get what you're saying. As a writer, the most important thing for me is to get the story out in front of as many people as possible. And so if instead of reaching 10 people, you can reach 100, instead of 100, you can reach 1,000, whatever the numbers are, that means a lot, because, will this character ever have a second story depends in large part how many people want one. Mm-hmm. And so anything that makes this character come alive for 50,000 people instead of 10,000 people, it doesn't mean that we should do absolutely anything to achieve that. We should do reasonable things to achieve that. But as a writer, sure, I'm really happy that so many people are reading it.
Oh yeah, it's
the thing about both Gun Honey and Stray Dogs, they're both great stories, and you want to look past the beautiful covers.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. All right. Moving on. Amazing Spider-Man number 74 also came out this week. It's ambivalent because, look, it was an expensive book to begin with, in between $7.99 and then $9.99 in some instances. But the secondary sales are actually doing pretty good at 8,000 within the last week. So it's actually doing pretty good. And there was a lot of freaking covers, which was another thing to itself. I haven't gotten a chance
Wait for 75.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to really look at it, but that Vincenti cover, which is an open order, is doing really well. That's the one with Mary Jane on top of Peter, and they're playing around, and she's got his costume on because who doesn't like to see your wife wearing your work clothes? It's one of your things. The Alex Maleev, that one is actually doing okay, but the Giacchetto, which is the hottest one, we still got to see what the numbers look at as far as secondary sales.
Look at that. Just did a brand new Spider-Man, and it just looks great. You think he would just run out of great Spider-Man poses? He kind of
It kind of looks like he's doing the finger bang gun dancing thing. I don't know.
Yeah, he's doing that. Great.
Yes, sir. Also, that came out this week is Something is Killing the Children, number 20. This is by no fault of its own. It's because the hype has caught up to him. So retailers, they're going to order the crap out of something that's killing their children, no matter which one it is, no matter how many. That's just the way it is. So the cover A Deladera, which was I think, yeah, no, the cover A Deladera. That's the one that I have up there. And then there's the cover B by Evan Fong. And then the cover C, it looks like I don't have the cover C about Valerio Shitty, but the Valerio Shitty is sold out in certain cases. But the main thing is that right now the secondary sales are like around $5,000. Moon Knight #2 second print is kind of sold out in some of the secondary stores. This one had the first appearance of the full night, right? So there's Moon Knight, who's got like the crescent moon, and there's the other guy who's got like the full moon and everything. So this was going to be a second print of that one. So in other news, just to make sure you guys understand the way it works for certain retailers is that every month or sometimes it's every 2 weeks, Diamond and Lunar, they come out with these lists of which books are going to have to be returned if you actually want credit for it. The big ones that came out this week, I think, are White #1, which has a second print. My Mother of Madness #1, the cover C by Laiz. Then also Mother of Madness by Ratcliffe. They're taking that back. God Killer Tomorrow Ashes #1. I don't know anybody that's returning that one. If you are returning that one, you are just bad at sales because that one was a hot book. And there was a 1 of 30, and then there's a 1 of 15. And Momo #1 is not a bad book. It's a cute little book. There was an unlockable that's out there, and they're asking people to either return or just destroy that one. So keep an eye out for those because look, I always tell people like, yeah, people are saying, well, cover A's and cover B's, they're always going to be plentiful, but people forget about this program where you get to return those or destroy those. So technically, at certain points, those are not going to be the most plentiful out there. All right, October 6th, 2021. These are the ones that are coming out next week. Amazing Spider-Man #75. That's what you're saying, Adam. You saying you think that there's going to be some interesting shit in there?
I think there's going to be some interesting shit. There's also a ton of covers for that as well.
Yep, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got like 10 covers up there right now. And the only ones that are kind of impressive are, Jusco. He's been pretty hot with the stuff that he's played before. I fucked up that one. The Enhyuk Lee, it looks pretty good. The only thing is he's done Spider-Man and Venom so many times that they just all kind of run around. And absolutely, the poses that he's got him in, the lighting, absolutely amazing. It's just that he needs some work on the background because there's nothing happening in the background that makes it amazing to me. Mm-hmm. And then the Gleason, which I didn't. He looks like he's trying to do the 3D web thing again, but it's just not going to be. Yeah, it's just not going to be a hit like that first one.
It's being a gimmick to the ground at this point.
Yeah.
You mind before we continue with what's coming out next week? Could I ask Tony another question?
What'd you get?
Please do. I got a jet in a couple minutes too, so
cool.
I think it's a good one.
I just want to get your thoughts. I was fantasy casting Stray Dogs.
Okay.
And I want to know what do you think of Maitland Ward as Roxanne?
Maitland Ward as Roxanne.
She was Rachel on Boy Meets World. She was also on White Chicks.
Uh-huh. Hold on. Of course, the first thing I thought of was a Maitland Ward. So it's just going to take a second for me to try and visualize this. Yeah, I could see it. I don't know. Here's where you get into it. Do you get actors? Do you get voice actors? They're actors too, Right. But I feel like so many movies now, they just get voice actors, or they get, like TV actors or movie actors instead of voice actors. I feel like those other ones are getting shut out. Now, Blind Adam, Maitland Ward is in porn now. This is what Google's telling me. Are we going back?
Yes, she's this, and I'm coining this. This is a coin on Awesome Sauce Radio. She's a sitcom star gone hardcore.
Look,
But he still does games.
Adam, we're gonna have to shut you down. I'm gonna have to report you to HR, man. Because
Charles,
this is
are you in
this is
porn?
no good,
What's
man.
I
Am
feel
I
like
important at this moment?
Yeah,
Right at
Just
this
right
moment?
now.
I have
try and run
never,
a freaking
to
clean
the best of my
show, and
knowledge, I have never
goddamn,
been in
Adam.
porn.
Okay, I'm trying to really figure out what's going on here.
Yeah.
Maitland Ward, she has my thumbs up. I don't have casting final say or anything, but I'll put her name in for sure.
All right, and for Rusty, I had Billy West.
Billy West. Yes, a voice actor, a talent.
Legend.
He could play it straight too. Like, Rusty's not hilarious in any way, but I feel like he could do just like a calming, soothing alpha male dog voice. Sure.
And for Sophie, I had Tara Strong.
Tara Strong. Yeah. Princess Twilight Sparkle, absolutely. Batgirl.
1,500 other voices she's done over the years.
Mm-hmm.
What? No part for Maurice LaMarche?
Yeah, what's up? We have 10 dogs, Charles. We can definitely get him in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I drew a blank because that's when my dog started jumping on my lap asking me for a bone.
Your dog wants a part in this film as well. That's fine. He's invited.
No, my dog will at least be on a blank eventually.
Okay. First time I came on this show, your dog came on the show with me too. This dog is awesome. That's a real
just the last couple of times she was asleep with mommy and daddy, so
nice.
when they're home, she bothers down more than me.
Maitland Ward, what has she gotten up to? My goodness. Well,
stranger by the day.
Gang, this has been great. Charles, very nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you too. Before you go, let me advertise your Kickstarter one more time.
Yeah, let's pump the Kickstarter up.
If there aren't $746 more added, or 1,746, I guess, I don't get my picture drawn with the historical person of my choice. So
you got in on the historical commission tier?
I did the historical commission, but I don't get it unless $1,000 gets pledged. So I'm telling everybody, you go and you pledge some money because I want my historical picture.
All right, now I got to think of who I want my picture drawn with. All right.
Do you have somebody picked out already? Do you know who you're going to get?
No idea whatsoever. I'll figure it out if and when the time. I'll take your advice.
Okay, good. Well, yeah, we'll consult. We'll get something figured out. Good.
No, it's really great to meet you. It's fun to discover that you love the same stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And
Tony, I want to thank you once again for coming on the show. I want to thank you for all the friendship and support.
Of course.
And I'll send you a message about something I wanted to ask off camera sometime during the week.
All right, sounds good. Adam, Lucas, thank you guys so much for having me. Charles, it was great hanging out with you. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Thanks. Talk soon.
Right, take care, man.
I should call it a night too, since I'm an early riser and have to get my daughter off to school. So I will take this moment as well. This was a treat. Drunken Chatson was great. This was great. I never do this kind of stuff.
Awesome to have you,
Charles. Thank you so much for being a guest.
Anytime. And
I hope I'll see you next week over at Javits.
Hey, come on by. I'll be at the crime fiction panel.
All right, cool. Like I said, I'm still working on getting tickets into the event at the moment. So
yeah, well, cross my fingers, and I hope I get to see you there.
Yeah, definitely, man. You have a great night, Charles.
Thanks. You too, guys.
All right, Charles. All right, it is currently 10:23, 7 minutes till 10:30. Let's see if we can get through this. And away we go. Let's see. I'm currently looking at the Amazing Spider-Man number 75 covers. There's Oakley. Star Wars Advanced Ghost Vader's Castle number 3. There's a 1-10 Francesco Francavilla. And this one's going to be the first appearance of the Bog Beast. Crossover number 8 has several
crossover is still going on.
Yes, it is. But once again, they still haven't had anything that impresses anyone right now.
The last thing they did that impressed me is they had that crossover with Madman.
Yeah. Marvel Actions Origins number 4 has a 1-10. Sent up by Garboska. Star Wars High Republic Adventures number 9. by cover B by Megan Levins. I'm not sure who the character is on there, but it looks pretty awesome. He's doing flips and everything with the saber. And then this is a pick that you definitely got to keep an eye on. This is my pick. I've been talking about this for the last month. This is the one, Righteous Thirst for Vengeance, #1. I believe this is the one that I said the dude looks like Wong from Shang-Chi, or from
Yep.
yeah. Um, it's got several covers, including a 1/50. Now here's the deal: even the open orders inside the system are sold out already.
Oh, wow.
Already. So I've already said that it looks like it's ready, script ready. So definitely, if you see this at your LCS, pick this one up. If you see some stores slipping as far as selling it, especially selling that 1/50 for less, go ahead and grab that up. Let's see, make it through. The Batman Audio Adventure Special #1 that comes out this week.
All right, and that has that radio variant, which is what, a 1 in 100.
That 1/25. Have you listened to the audio thing yet?
Listen, it is an amazing. I listened to both episodes so far. It is extremely worth the time to listen to. You can get it on YouTube or HBO Max.
I'm gonna have to check it out on HBO Max.
And I'm definitely going to be picking up one of those because I forgot to pre-order it like an idiot.
Batman and Imposter #1. There's a 1/25 by Carrie Andrews, and there's an open order by Lee Bermejo. Magic Gathering #7's got a bunch of covers, to include a 1/50 by Ward. Batman Urban Legends #8 by Riccardo Federici. This one's got not Red Hood. Who is that? That's Arkham Knight. DC Harbison Soul Plumber #1. So I'm thinking this is going to be a first appearance of a new character who just happens to be a plumber.
Okay.
Once again, people are sleeping on DC right now, and the DC horror section. To include The Conjuring, The Lover #5 has an amazing poster-like cover on there, where a mother is holding her child, but the mother has the face of a skeleton.
That's t-shirt worthy.
Arkham City, The Order of the World #1. It's got a 1/25 by Steve Beach. And it's not really 1/25 worthy, but Batman #114 has also got a 1/25 by Dylan Teague. Now that one's got Ghost Killer, or is a Ghost Maker on there.
Ghost Maker.
Yeah, and he looks amazing. Let's see. Deadpool Black, White, and Blood #3 is coming out. This is one I've been telling people about. The 1/25 by Stan Sakai.
I think that's going to be book of the week.
You think?
One of the variants I think people are going to sleep on because everyone is sleeping on Deadpool at the moment as well.
Yeah. So the problem with the speculation thing right now is that a lot of speculation is ruled by older guys that don't like Deadpool for some freaking reason.
What's up with that?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. So they're like, oh man, I don't like Deadpool. And, yeah, okay. Go ahead, keep sleeping on it, because the younger generation, they love Deadpool right now.
Deadpool, go to any convention. It doesn't even have to be a comic book convention. It could be a gaming. I've even seen Deadpool cosplay at porn conventions. Deadpool is just that popular.
Yep. Jennifer Blood #1. It's got a 1/50 by Lucia Perretto. That one's going to be a metal premium.
All right.
The Me You Love in the Dark #3. It's got an open order coming out.
I still have to read #1.
Excalibur #24. Rian Gonzalez has an open order coming out. And it's got a Just Go Marvel Masterpieces open order coming out. Miss Marvel Tales #1. John Sway, who's been kind of hot lately.
150.
Yep. Avengers Tech On #3. It's got Paige Momoko. And Gerald Burrell has an open order with Captain Marvel #3. Let's see. Trying to go through these.
Can we
Symbiote
start a
Spider-Man.
petition that everyone Momoka stands to give her $1 to give her like a month off?
she I know her hands hurt right now.
She's got wow. I thought Matina used to be oversaturated back in the day. This even passes that.
No, because it's not even her, man. Because I was preparing for this, and there is a crap load of Marvel stuff just coming out for no reason, all at the same time. Defender #3, just as Joe Jusko, with the freaking I forget what the name of this freaking dude. It's the low rent freaking Aquaman, Submariner on there.
Name all the Prince of Atlantis, yo.
Yeah. Eternal Celestia #1, Liefeld Deadpool #30. This one's sold out. Star Wars High Republic Trail of Shadows #1. It's got several covers. And I don't think any of these. Maybe the Tedesco as a 1 in 25. And I'm gonna skip to, because I don't think any of these other ones are worthy. I'm just looking through. Yeah, let's skip to the FOC this week. Geiger #3 has a second print this week. It's got
wow.
remember, so you know how in Hamlet, Hamlet freaking picks up the skull of York.
Yep.
That's what this looks like, but instead the skull is like glowing green. Primordial #2, there's a 1 of 10 by Sorrentino. So the Russian dog Cosmo that went out in space. It's basically him, but his helmet is covered red with blood, basically. Spawn #323 to cover Saber Barons. So remember how I told you last week about the Ice Cream Man, and
Yep.
I don't know whether they changed it, but now it's just the clown in his regular uniform, whatever, and he's the one giving out trick or treat to the kids.
That sucks.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep an eye out on that one.
I think
And
the Ice Cream Man would have been a better image to go with than Annihilator.
yeah. What's the furthest place from here? #1, people so far have been asking me about this one and what I think about it. I don't know what to think about it because they haven't given me anything to review yet. But there is a regular cover by Brian Bendis. The one that I have up right now, however, is the 1 to 100 by Jenny Frison. It's another post-apocalyptic story about a single mom, and she's not even a single mom. She's a single pregnant teen, and that's just doing
Go
her
on.
thing. Yeah. But the thing that I think that will be a cover to look out for is that Brian Bendis is basically
Brian
Porky
actually
Pig.
drew the cover? Holy shit.
Yeah, it's like basically like a Porky Pig, but it's like backslashed, like
Yabba.
backslash. Yeah, it's kind of creepy.
Interesting.
Alien #8, right? This one's interesting. It's a Mother Mabel painting kind of quality, right? So I don't know Adam, if you've ever seen Mother Mabel, right? It's just the old lady sitting in her rocking chair, right? I don't know if you've
I
ever seen that
remember it back
painting.
to what I could see.
Okay, so imagine that lady. Try to remember that lady who's just doing her thing, sitting in a rocking chair, but instead of her just sitting in a rocking chair, an alien has infiltrated her face. So take that for what you want. But that one's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on as well. Joe Jusko did Black Widow #12. Deadpool Black, White, and Red by All Red has got it's got Deadpool all bloody as always.
It's Deadpool and it's Michael Allred. That's all I need.
And there's a 1 to 25 coming out for that one as well. Excalibur's got number 25's got my Momoko. Hulk number 1. This one's going to be one to keep an eye
This is
out
going to
for.
be book of the week for that week.
Well, it's going to be the one to read. There is a bunch
Donny
of
Cates in
covers.
the Hayes house. Yo!
Right, yeah. So there's a bunch of covers that are coming out for this one. What people need to keep an eye out for is that Donny Cates, whenever he picks up a new title, he tends to go back into history on stuff, on characters and their recon history. So if you have a PDF or whatever early, definitely don't freaking just flip through, look for new characters. Look for him to have
Read the
retcon.
whole book because Donny Cates
You're gonna have to
loves
do some
Marvel
research.
history.
Yep, you're gonna have to
And
do some
it shows
research
for
and
his
figure
work.
out recon. And with all the stuff that Al Ewing has done on the Hulk, there's a lot of that stuff for him to retcon.
Yeah, so I think one
Um,
half of the Immortal Hulk creative team I'll still recognize.
Inferno number 2 by Joe Jusko. That's
Joe Jessica's killing the wallet, man.
yeah. This one is definitely going to be one to consider. Rush number 1. That's going to be an indie by Vault. There's a cover. There's actually quite a lot of covers, but the one that I like is the cover B by Simmons. Gun Honey number 1. This is why I wanted Charles Ardai to stand by. But Gun Honey number 1, third print by
Yep.
Adam Hughes, the metallic ink variant. And let's see, is that the last one that I'm looking at right now? Yes, I believe this is the last one. Never Never number 1. It's about once again about apocalyptic kids that go cannibalistic. That is a second print. Now the only thing that I have left is I wanted to go back to some of the stuff that I talked about last week. Actually, just one particular book, and that is Spider Woman number 16. Um, for some people, got mixed up on what was going on with that one. Look, because specifically in the solicits, it does say, "Hey, um, someone in the Drew clan suits up for the first time. Who could it be?" Well, it wasn't in this issue. It was in issue number 15. Jessica Drew's niece dresses up in a costume. Um,
Okay.
yeah, here's the deal. That's not her first. That was not her first appearance. Her first appearance was in Spider Woman number 1 of that year,
Okay.
or this particular year. Um, and she gets suited up in number 15. For Spider Woman number 1, there was several covers, including one in
Is this
25.
the current time with the Rush, with the Momoko and the Rush Push variants?
Right, yeah. So the Momoko variant, that one was hot for a little bit, but now people forgot about it. But now there's also an art germ. There was also a 1 to 500 art germ variant out there,
Yep.
and it was cheap. I think I picked it up for cheap, like bag cheap. Um, it's because people forgot about it. People didn't care about it. So that one is one to keep an eye out for as well. And then that is all. What do you have for us, Adam?
Well, I got New York Comic Con coming up hopefully next week. I'm gonna have some hidden. I did not have time to do any hidden gems because I was preparing for 2 interviews today, and after last week, I really wanted to prepare extra hard. And I want to thank the sponsors: Rhode Island Comic Con, happening at the Dunkin' Donuts Center from November 5th to the 7th, with almost the entire cast of clerks, including Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes. So I'm definitely going to that. I also want to thank 98 Wednesdays. If you want a guaranteed 98 slab book from PGX East, hit Rob Pillsbury up 98 Wednesdays. That was all the official sponsors. And as always, you don't need sight to have a vision. It's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it. I thank you for letting me into your homes and your hearts. I love you guys. Keep your pimp pants strong. Salam. Blind out them out.
Yep. Yep. Oh, shoot. I forgot
Oh,
one
shit.
last
Now what?
thing. I forgot one last thing.
One
To tell
last
you guys,
thing.
yeah, one last thing to tell you guys about. And I think this is kind of important because I wanted to be the first one to break this news.
All right.
Card Score, and I believe you saw this on my Instagram. So Card Score, they're a new company, right? And what they do is think of like CGC, right? But
Mhm.
they're for trading cards. But instead of sending your cards away, uh, you go to your local comic book shop.
We talked about this in Drunken Chat on Friday or
Uh huh.
Saturday.
Yes, sir. You go to your local comic book shop and they scan it there for you, right? And instead of emailing the cards or your whatever for you, you just take your cards home. And then what happens is you sit at home and you wait for them to send the case. Because some dude that looks at the scan, he takes it and he looks at the scan. And then once he gives you the score, he sends the score to the shop and with the case and all that, and then you do it yourself.
Oh wow!
So think of the big issues that we have with CGC. With CGC,
With
uh,
the 22-year turnaround times.
yeah, and CBCS, yeah, you send your books out there, and then in that meantime, your books are lost. You don't know about the quality of your freaking books, none of that, right? With this, you scan it, you send the scans, you send it off, and then they freaking grade it, right? They grade it based on the scans, and then they send you the case, which should take like 45 or 5 to 7 business days. So I just got one of mine graded.
Did you
And
do
I'm
that
waiting.
that you were talking about? That happened this past weekend.
Yes, yes. So all I'm waiting right now is for the grade and for them to send the case and everything. Now here's where it gets really interesting. They actually have a score key where you can buy the score key that syncs up with your printer and with your local comic book shop.
Oh
So you can
wow!
actually scan your stuff in your house instead of going to the local comic book shop or your local trading card thing. You scan it in your house. That sends the scan to the company and to the local comic book or local trading card store, right? And then once somebody grades it, you go into the trading card store. They verify that what you had scanned was the one, and then they do it for you. They put it inside the slab and everything, right?
That is very interesting.
Now here's the deal. I say, hey, well, no, that would be that is interesting. I say, well, I can't wait till they think about doing freaking comic books. They said they are thinking about doing comic books. So imagine that. That
Wow!
instead that within a year or two, we could have it so that you could probably scan your own comic books at home and get it graded instead of sending your book. Because remember, every minute or every day that your comic books are out of your house and out of your hands, that is lost revenue, right? Because
Exactly.
you could have potentially been selling that book, right? While it's out there. Instead, you get to send it off to get graded, and then you still get to keep it on eBay. And if it sells while you're waiting for it to get graded, then that's whatever. Now, here's the other deal. Card Score, they are looking for graders. Um, so you can sign up, and then they verify you, and then they give you a little class and all that other stuff. And then, if you wanted to, they'll set you up with an account. You grade, and then they send you cards or scans of cards to look at, and then you submit a score, and you get paid to do it. So that's another thing that's interesting about this company. Um, but yeah, man, freaking, it's a definitely interesting freaking company, and I just wanted to share that with y'all. Um,
Like I said, this really intrigues me that you can just go to your comic shop or do it from your house and scan it in, and then it goes to the company.
yes, yep.
And then
So,
once they have the grade, then they mail you the slab, and you do the slab yourself,
hmm
or the shop does that.
or yeah, you order shop. No, they want you to send it to the shop,
Mhm,
or they want you to you got to take your card, so you get scanned at the store,
mhm.
or you do it yourself. But you got to take that same card back to the store. They don't want to really want you to slab it yourself because you slab it yourself. Unless it's like a 1-to-1.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a 1-to-1, then you can probably slap it yourself. But if it's like a 1-to-49 or whatever, then you're going to need to take it to the store. And then the store, they look at the scan, and then they look at the card, and they verify that it's the same card in the scan.
All right.
So,
like I said, I like this for the future.
It's interesting. It's good stuff. All right, man. Freaking let's get on out of here, man.
Let's get on out of here. I thank everyone for tuning in. I'll see you all next Wednesday. Same pimp time, same pimp channel. I love you guys. Lucas and Blind Adam out.
Viewer discretion is advised.
If you feeling like a pimp.